And you take of their daughters for your sons, and their daughters whore after their gods, and make your sons whore after their gods. For those wondering, the Hivites and the Jebusites were descendants of Shem. The Amorites, Canaanites, Hittites, and the Perizzites were descendants of Ham. So we have one group from the descendants of Shem being discouraged from mixing with other groups within the descendants of Shem, while also being discouraged from mixing with the descendants of Ham. This suggests that God cares about the sanctity of his creation, and in this case, in modern times, we would call these races and ethnicities, while also looking to prevent his people from being led astray by foreign religions. But these were the peoples God promised to drive out. These were the people God told the Israelites to avoid mixing with. God also made it clear that we are to tear down their altars and break their pillars, which means American Christian politicians who bow down to other religions, they directly disobey God. Period. The Holy Bible said no. This should not transpire in a God-fearing nation, and there are ramifications for inaction. He warns his people not to make alliances with non-believers. Don't give away your children in marriage to them. Don't adopt their idolatrous practices, emphasizing that he is a jealous God who demands exclusive worship. Under the new covenant, this serves as a spiritual warning to believers to remain separate from worldly systems and false teachings, and to avoid partnerships that could lead us away from faithfulness to Christ. If you are a Protestant, this could include your son or daughter being led astray by another Christian religion. Their significant other could pull them in the direction of Catholicism, which many of us view as a religion full of heresies. And you could say the same for a Catholic who doesn't want their child dating a Protestant. Leviticus 19:19. You shall keep my statutes. You shall not let your cattle breed with a different kind. You shall not sow your field with two kinds of seed. As we can see in Leviticus, God's desire for separation isn't mutually exclusive to peoples. Deuteronomy 22:5. A woman shall not wear a man's garment, nor shall a man put on a woman's cloak, for whoever does these things is an abomination to the Lord your God. Cross-dressing or pretending to be the opposite sex is a grave sin against God, and this is truly another issue that's easy to remember. If you see Sodom and Gomorrah come walking through your front door, or the Tower of Babel comes walking through your front door, it is your duty as the head of your household to tell your child or whoever brought this abomination to the Lord into your home, you tell them to turn around and walk right back out. If they choose to destroy themselves with their own personal Sodom and Gomorrah or Tower of Babel, it would be wise for you to separate yourself from their self-destructive behavior in front of the Lord God above and calmly explain why. This should be an easy no way for all parents who fear the Lord. Sodom and Gomorrah and the Tower of Babel are well known, so you have no excuse for allowing either to enter your own home. Leviticus 20:26. You shall be holy to me, for I the Lord am holy, and have separated you from the peoples that you should be mine. Matthew 19:28. And Jesus said unto them, Verily I say unto you, that ye which have followed me, in the regeneration, when the Son of Man shall sit in the throne of his glory, ye also shall sit upon 12 thrones, judging the 12 tribes of Israel. When Jesus said that his disciples will judge the 12 tribes of Israel, clearly tribes never cease to exist in God's eyes. Clearly tribes remain significant in God's eternal purpose. Your God-given tribe matters because God created it. Don't ever let anyone tell you otherwise. Leviticus 21:14. A widow or a divorced woman or a woman who has been defiled or a prostitute, these he shall not marry, but he shall take as his wife a virgin of his own people. This passage contains part of the qualifications that were required in Old Testament times to become a priest. God required priests to take as his wife a virgin of his own people. A high priest was required to have upright and holy morals, reflecting the high standards required for one who mediates between God and humanity. And if this is pleasing to God for a priest, clearly marrying an uncorrupted woman from your own people is clearly pleasing to God for anyone. Deuteronomy 7:1-4. When the Lord your God brings you into the land that you are entering to take possession of it, and clears away many nations before you, the Hittites, the Girgashites, the Amorites, the Canaanites, the Perizzites, the Hivites, and the Jebusites, 7 nations more numerous and mightier than you. And when the Lord your God gives them over to you, and you defeat them, then you must devote them to complete destruction. You shall make no covenant with them, and show no mercy to them. You shall not intermarry with them, giving your daughters to their sons, or taking their daughters for your sons, for they would turn away your sons from following me to serve other gods. Then the anger of the Lord would be kindled against you, and he would destroy you quickly. This passage contains instructions for the Israelites as they entered a land with strange peoples. They are told to make no covenant with them. There is to be no intermarrying or mixing with them. Do not give your sons or daughters to their sons and daughters to them, because if you do, God may destroy you. The Hittites, Girgashites, Amorites, Canaanites, Perizzites, Hivites, and the Jebusites were all descendants of Ham. Romans 15:4. For whatever was written in former days was written for our instruction, that through endurance and through the encouragement of the Scriptures we might have hope. God's framework is to be respected. God has a vision for every group of peoples, and this includes marriage that leads to true multiplication. Having children out of wedlock is something God disapproves of, and anyone who doubts that should read Deuteronomy 23:2. Deuteronomy 23:2. A bastard shall not enter into the congregation of the Lord. Even to his 10th generation shall he not enter into the congregation of the Lord. It is extremely important to remember that Jesus welcomed children unconditionally, stating, "Let the little children come to me, and do not hinder them, for the kingdom of heaven belongs to such as these." Jesus Christ loves all the little children, but as Romans 15:4 states, for whatever was written in former days was written for our instruction. So we should all still attempt to please God by having children within wedlock, and with someone from within our own God-given peoples. There are still consequences for producing children out of wedlock. Deuteronomy 23:2 is part of a ceremonial restriction barring individuals born of forbidden unions, including those who married foreigners. Joshua 23:12-13. For if you turn back and cling to the remnant of these nations remaining among you, and make marriages with them, so that you associate with them and they with you, know for certain that the Lord your God will no longer drive out these nations before you, but they shall be a snare and a trap for you, a whip on your sides and thorns in your eyes, until you perish from off this good ground that the Lord your God has given you. If you are someone who desires to see an invasion reversed within your nation, you cannot participate with miscegenation. You must stand firm because your fellow people's independence depends on it. Joshua 23:12-13 teaches us that if you participate with a version of the Tower of Babel, God will ensure that you keep your Tower of Babel and can't get rid of it. So whatever you do, please, for the independence of your God-given peoples, be ye separate. Be a good witness for the Lord, but be ye separate, please. Learn to politely say no. Judges 3:5-8. So the people of Israel lived among the Canaanites, the Hittites, the Amorites, the Perizzites, the Hivites, and the Jebusites. And their daughters they took to themselves for wives, and their own daughters they gave to their sons, and they served their gods. And the people of Israel did what was evil in the sight of the Lord. They forgot the Lord their God, and served the Baals and the Asheroth. Therefore the anger of the Lord was kindled against Israel, and he sold them into the hand of Cushan-Rishathaim, king of Mesopotamia. And the people of Israel served Cushan-Rishathaim 8 years. Once again, this passage delivers an example of the children of God's people mixing with foreign peoples and worshiping foreign false gods. God punished them for what they did was evil in the sight of the Lord. For those wondering, the Hivites and the Jebusites were descendants of Shem. The Amorites, Canaanites, Hittites, and the Perizzites were descendants of Ham. So we have one group from the descendants of Shem being discouraged from mixing with other groups within the descendants of Shem, while also being discouraged from mixing with the descendants of Ham. This suggests that God cares about the sanctity of his creation, and in this case, in modern times we would call these races and ethnicities, while also looking to prevent his people from being led astray by foreign religions. 1 Kings 8:53. For you separated them from among all the peoples of the earth to be your heritage, as you declared through Moses your servant when you brought our fathers out of Egypt, O Lord God. This verse is part of King Solomon's prayer of dedication, and once again we have an example of God separating his people from the rest of the world. 1 Kings 11:1-5. Now King Solomon loved many foreign women, along with a daughter of Pharaoh, Moabite, Ammonite, Edomite, Sidonian, and Hittite women, from the nations concerning which the Lord had said to the people of Israel, You shall not enter into marriage with them, neither shall they with you, for surely they will turn away your heart after their gods. Solomon clung to these in love. He had 700 wives who were princesses and 300 concubines. And his wives turned away his heart. For when Solomon was old, his wives turned away his heart after other gods, and his heart was not wholly true to the Lord his God, as was the heart of David his father. For Solomon went after Ashtoreth, the goddess of the Sidonians, and after Milcom, the abomination of the Ammonites. So Solomon did what was evil in the sight of the Lord, and did not wholly follow the Lord, as David his father had done. Then Solomon built a high place for Chemosh, the abomination of Moab, and for Molech, the abomination of the Ammonites, on the mountain east of Jerusalem. And so he did for all his foreign wives, who made offerings and sacrificed to their gods. And the Lord was angry with Solomon, because his heart had turned away from the Lord, the God of Israel, who had appeared to him twice, and had commanded him concerning this thing, that he should not go after other gods. But he did not keep what the Lord commanded. Therefore the Lord said to Solomon, Since this has been your practice, and you have not kept my covenant and my statutes that I have commanded you, I will surely tear the kingdom from you, and will give it to your servant. King Solomon was renowned for his wisdom, but he ultimately turned away from God, and it was foreign women who caused him to stray from the Lord. Solomon loved many foreign women. And as wise man Solomon grew old, his foreign wives led his heart astray. The Moabites and Ammonites were descendants of Shem. Sidonians and Hittites were descendants of Ham. So we have one group from the descendants of Shem being discouraged from mixing with other groups within the descendants of Shem, while also being discouraged from mixing with the descendants of Ham. This suggests that God cares about the sanctity of his creation, and in this case, in modern times, we would call these races and ethnicities, while also looking to prevent his people being led astray by foreign religions. One of the most wise men of all time was led astray by foreigners. 1 Kings 16:30-33. And Ahab the son of Omri did evil in the sight of the Lord more than all who were before him. And as if it had been a light thing for him to walk in the sins of Jeroboam the son of Nebat, he took for his wife Jezebel, the daughter of Ethbaal, king of the Sidonians, and went and served Baal and worshipped him. He erected an altar for Baal in the house of Baal, which he built in Samaria, and Ahab made an Asherah. Ahab did more to provoke the Lord, the God of Israel, to anger than all the kings of Israel who were before him. 1 Kings 21:25. There was none who sold himself to do what was evil in the sight of the Lord like Ahab,